In the private room of our college reunion, I overheard the campus belle call me a parasite to my childhood sweetheart. I stared at him in shock, about to defend myself. But he just smiled casually. It's just a joke. Shihan isn't wrong though. You really should learn to be more independent. Don't take it to heart. She yawned, the freshman campus belle who had been chasing him relentlessly. I fell silent for a long time. It turned out that my 18 years by his side meant nothing more than parasitism in his eyes. I said nothing more. I just left all our shared social circles and vanished from his life during graduation season. My childhood sweetheart panicked. Are you really mad? It was just a joke, wasn't it? Yeah. The music in the private room was deafening, and the colorful lights were dazzling. I sat in the corner watching Jo Moyon surrounded by a crowd. He was still as brilliant as ever, the sleeves of his white shirt rolled up to his elbows, revealing his toned forearms, and fine lines crinkled at the corners of his eyes when he smiled. Song Xian sat right beside him, wearing a white dress with her long hair falling over her shoulders, every bit the campus belle she was known to be. Her hand rested casually on Jo Moyon's arm, so naturally it looked like it belonged there. Senior Moyon, I heard Lin Qingya has been with you since you were kids? Song Xian's voice was soft and coquettish, but it made my heart clench for no reason. Jo Moyon took a sip of wine and replied casually, Yeah, we grew up together. Wow, childhood sweethearts. I'm so jealous. Song Xian's eyes sparkled. Her tone shifted, mixing feigned innocence with clear malice. I think Senior Lin Qingya relies on you too much. She needs you to do everything for her. She's practically a parasite. The private room fell silent for a beat. Everyone's eyes drifted toward me, some whispering, others wearing expressions of barely concealed amusement. I gripped my juice glass so tightly my knuckles turned white, waiting for Jo Moyon's response. He would defend me, wouldn't he? We'd known each other for 18 years after all. Just yesterday, he'd stayed up late fixing my computer, and last month, on my birthday, he'd said he would take care of me forever. But Jo Moyon just smiled. Now that you mention it, I guess you're right. Qingya really does need to learn to be more independent. She can't rely on me forever. My heart felt like it was being squeezed tight. That's what I'm saying. She's already a junior, and she still needs the senior to do everything for her. She really is a parasite. Song Xian giggled behind her hand, unable to hide the triumph in her eyes. Parasite. The word stabbed into my heart like a needle. I watched Jo Moyon clink glasses with the people around him, as if he'd said nothing more than a trivial comment. 18 years. 18 whole years of history, reduced to nothing but parasitism in his mouth. I stood up, and my chair scraped loudly against the floor. Everyone turned to look at me. Jo Moyon finally seemed to realize something was wrong, and his brows furrowed slightly. Qingya? I looked at him, forcing my voice to stay steady. I don't feel well. I'm going back first, I'll walk you home. He started to stand up instinctively. It was his habit ever since we were kids. The second I said I didn't feel well, he would drop everything to be with me. But this time, I didn't need him. No need. I shook my head, a bitter smile tugging at my lips. I can go back by myself. After all, I need to learn to be independent, right? Jo Moyon froze, clearly not expecting that response. Song Xian tugged at his sleeve right on cue. Let's keep playing, Senior Moyon. Senior Lin probably really does feel sick. The second I stepped out of the private room, I heard Song Xian's voice. Oh no, did Senior Lin really get mad? It was just a joke. It's fine. She's just sensitive, Jo Moyon's voice replied, his tone casual and dismissive. Sensitive? I smiled bitterly. So in his eyes my pain was just me being overly sensitive. I quickened my pace and practically ran out of the KTV. The night wind was cold, still sharp with the chill of March, stinging my cheeks. I walked back to the dorm alone, that word echoing over and over in my head. Parasite, that's what I was to Jo Moyon. My phone rang. It was Jo Moyon. I stared at the name flashing on the screen, the name that had been pinned to the top of my contacts for 18 years. I didn't answer. He called several more times and each ring made my heart ache. Finally, he sent a text. Stop being mad. It was just a joke. Shihan speaks her mind, don't take it personally. Just a joke. I smiled bitterly. Yeah, to him, it probably was just a joke. But to me, it was a rejection of every single one of those 18 years. I turned off my phone, not wanting to see any more messages. When I got back to the dorm, my roommates were all out, and I was alone. The empty dorm was silent except for the soft hum of the air conditioner. I sat on the bed and looked at the photos of Joe Moyan and me on my phone. From age 6 to 24, he had been there for every important moment. There were thousands of photos in my album, documenting every little thing we'd shared over those 18 years. In elementary school, when my parents got divorced, he was the one who got me through the hardest time. He was just a little kid back then, but he patted my head like a grown-up and said, "Don't cry, Kingya. I'll protect you from now on." He would share his snacks with me, clumsily wipe my tears when I cried, and sit with me on the school playground after school until it got dark, only walking me home when I'd stopped crying. In middle school, when I was struggling with my grades, he stayed up late tutoring me every night. He had plenty of his own schoolwork to do, but he always helped me first before starting his own homework. Once I woke up and saw him writing furiously under the desk lamp at 3 in the morning. The next day, he showed up to school with dark circles under his eyes and laughed, saying he'd stayed up late playing video games. In high school, I got very sick and spent a whole month in the hospital. He took time off school to take care of me, bringing me meals, talking to me, and doing everything he could to make me laugh. When the doctor said I needed more sun, he pushed me around the hospital garden in a wheelchair. The sunlight filtered through the plane tree leaves onto him, and he smiled and said, "Kinga, when you get better, let's go to the same university together, okay?" I nodded, tears in my eyes. Back then, I thought anywhere would be fine as long as I was with him. In college, we actually got into the same school. He was as excited as a little kid.
Great.
Now I can keep taking care of you. I thought we would stay like this forever, childhood sweethearts, growing old together, just like in all the beautiful love stories. But when did things start to change? I flipped through the photos trying to find the answer. It was probably after Song Xian showed up. She was a freshman, and she'd fallen in love with Joe Moyan at first sight. On orientation day, Joe Moyan, as the student council president, was welcoming new students. Song Xian dragged her pink suitcase over and asked him for help in that soft, coquettish voice. As student council president, Joe Moyan naturally became the target of her pursuit. At first, Joe Moyan would complain to me about her. "That freshman is so annoying, she keeps following me around." She came to the student council again today, saying she wanted to buy me dinner to thank me. She even brought me breakfast. I told her I have a girlfriend. Back then, I would joke and say, "Looks like Senior Moyan is quite the heartthrob." He would put his arm around my shoulders and whisper in my ear, "My heart only beats for you." But gradually he stopped complaining. Instead, he started praising her. Xian is actually really nice. She's smart and capable. Her proposal at the student council meeting today was really creative. Xian is so independent, she does everything herself. Not like you, who needs me to do everything for you. That last sentence stabbed into my heart like a needle. So even back then I was already a burden to him. The next day I didn't go to class. It was the first time I'd ever skipped a class. Before, Joe Moyan would always wait for me downstairs every morning, and we'd walk to class together. Rain or shine, he'd done it since our freshman year. Today he was there again. I watched him from the window, pacing back and forth, holding 2 breakfasts, still my favorite xiaolong bao and soybean milk. He was wearing the same clothes as yesterday, and he looked like he hadn't slept all night. My roommate Xiao Yu pushed the door open. "Kinga, Joe Moyan is waiting for you downstairs." "I know. Aren't you going down?" She looked at me in surprise. As far as she knew, Joe Moyan and I never fought. "No." My roommate stared at me, shocked. "Did you two have a fight?" "A fight?" I shook my head. "We hadn't even fought. He'd just told the truth. The truth that had woken me up." My phone rang again. It was Joe Moyan. I stared at the caller ID and still didn't answer. He sent a text. "Are you still mad? Is it really that big of a deal? Come downstairs. We're going to be late." I replied, "I'm not going to class today." He texted back instantly. Why? Are you sick? No, I just don't feel like going. Lin Qingya, will you stop being childish? Is this really about last night? I told you it was just a joke. Just a joke. There it was again. In his eyes, hurting me could always be brushed off with those 3 words. I didn't reply. A little while later, he sent another text, I'll wait downstairs. I'm not leaving until you're not mad anymore. I pulled the curtains closed and stopped looking out the window. My roommate opened her mouth to say something, then thought better of it and left quietly for class. Alone in the dorm, I started to think seriously about one question. Was I really a parasite? When I thought about it, I guess I was. Ever since I was little, I had relied on Jo Moyon for everything. Every morning he would buy breakfast and wait for me downstairs. He picked my classes for me. This professor is interesting, and he gives good grades. This course is too hard. You won't be able to handle it. He decided which clubs I should join. The Literature Society is perfect for you. You love reading, don't you? Don't join the dance club. It's too tiring. Even when it came to what to eat, I always asked for his opinion. Moyon, what should we have for lunch? Moyon, does this dress look good on me? Moyon, should I cut my hair short? Before I knew it, I really seemed to have lost the ability to live independently. But it wasn't entirely my fault, was it? Every time I tried to make my own decisions, he would always say, you'll definitely pick something bad. Let me do it. In my freshman year, I wanted to enter an English speech contest. He said, with your spoken English, you'll just embarrass yourself up there. I wanted to learn to play the guitar. He said, you're tone deaf. Don't waste your money. I wanted to get a part-time job. He said, it's too dangerous out there. It's not safe for a girl. Just tell me if you need money. Every time I wanted to try something new, he would always say, it's too dangerous. You're not cut out for it. Gradually, I really became good at nothing. Like a flower grown in a greenhouse, I only knew how to thrive under his protection. Once I left him, I wouldn't even know how to survive. It turned out that while he was turning me into a useless person, he was also resenting me for being useless. In the evening, there was a knock on the dorm door. Qingya, open the door. I know you're in there. It was Jo Moyon's voice, tired and helpless. I ignored him. You haven't eaten anything all day. I bought you your favorite sweet and sour pork ribs. And mango milfaya, the one you said you wanted last time. Lin Qingya, how long are you going to keep this up? Keep this up? In his eyes, I was just throwing a tantrum. Fine. If you won't open the door, I'll just wait here. I looked through the crack in the door. He was really sitting in the hallway. His back was against the wall, his head bowed, holding the lunchbox in his hands. The setting sun streamed through the window at the end of the hallway, stretching his shadow long. He looked exhausted, with faint dark circles under his eyes. My heart softened for a moment, but then it hardened again. He could wait for me in the hallway for hours, but he couldn't say a single word in my defense in front of Song Xian. I didn't want this kind of kindness anymore. I put on my headphones and went back to working on my resume. It wasn't until my roommates started coming back one by one. Oh my God, why is Jo Moyon asleep in the hallway? Xiao Yu exclaimed. I finally opened the door. He was leaning against the wall, still holding the lunchbox, fast asleep. Even in his sleep, his brows were furrowed. He woke up immediately at the sound. Qingya? His voice was hoarse, but his eyes lit up instantly. Go home, I said. Does that mean you forgive me? He stood up quickly, stumbling a little because his legs had gone numb from sitting for so long. There's nothing to forgive. You were right. I do need to learn to be more independent. He frowned. What is that supposed to mean? Exactly what it says. I turned to leave, but he grabbed my wrist tightly. Lin Qingya, don't talk to me like that. I'm apologizing, okay? His hand was cold, nothing like its usual warmth. I pulled my hand away. You. He took a deep breath, clearly trying to control his temper. What do you want me to do? I looked at him, really looked at him for the first time in a long time. At the man I had loved for 18 years. And I said seriously, I want to live independently, without relying on you. Isn't that a good thing? He froze, looking at me as if he didn't recognize me. Qingya, do you hear yourself? I hear myself perfectly clearly. Is this really just because of one stupid comment? Because Song Xian called you a parasite? No. It's because you thought it too. He opened his mouth to argue, but no words came out. Because we both knew it was true. He really did think that. After that, I really started to distance myself from Zhou Moyun. I no longer went to class with him. I chose to sit on the other side of the classroom, a single aisle separating us, but it might as well have been a world apart. I no longer ate meals with him. I started going to the cafeteria with my roommates, trying dishes I had never had before. It turned out the spicy hot pot on the second floor was delicious, and the bibimbap on the third floor was pretty good too. Zhou Moyun had always gotten my food for me before. I never would have known. I no longer went to the library with him. I found a new corner, quiet and bathed in sunlight. With no one to disturb me, my study efficiency actually improved a lot. I replied to his texts politely, but no longer instantly like I used to. No more cute emojis, no more pouting, no more saying I missed him. Just simple, yeah? Okay, got it. When he asked me out, I always said I was busy. I have to study for an exam. I have to write a paper. I have a part-time job. Gradually he seemed to give up too. The texts became fewer and fewer, and the phone calls stopped altogether. One day I saw him eating in the cafeteria with Song Xian. They were sitting at the table we used to always sit at. Song Xian was laughing brightly, serving him food every now and then. He smiled occasionally too, though not as brightly as he used to. They looked perfect together. A handsome man and a beautiful woman, a match made in heaven. I looked away and focused on my own food. The spicy hot pot was a little too spicy, making my eyes burn. Kingya? Someone sat down across from me. It was Chun Shu, a senior in our department. He was a first-year graduate student, brilliant and kind. Senior. Chun, I greeted him politely. Eating alone? Where's Zhou Moyan? Probably everyone knew that Zhou Moyan and I were inseparable. I don't know. Chun Shu glanced at Zhou Moyan in the distance, looking thoughtful. Did you two have a fight? No, we were just living separate lives now. That's good. He smiled. By the way, our lab is looking for research assistants. Are you interested? My eyes lit up. Yes, I am. It was a great opportunity to learn new things, and it paid well too. Before I would have had to ask Zhou Moyan's opinion about something like this. But now I could make the decision myself. Just as Chun Shu and I were discussing the details, a figure suddenly appeared at our table. It was Zhou Moyan. His face was dark, his eyes cold. Kinga, come with me. I followed him outside the cafeteria. The spring sun was warm and bright, but his expression was as cold as winter. What is it? I asked. You're going to work in Chun Shu's lab? Yeah. No way. He rejected the idea out of hand. I frowned. Why not? Chun Shu is not a good guy. He's always hitting on girls. It won't be safe for you in his lab. I almost laughed. Senior Chun Shu was a famous straight-A student who spent every day in the lab. When would he have time to hit on girls? This is my business. Lin Qinya. He raised his voice, his eyes blazing. Are you doing this on purpose? Just to make me mad? I'm not. Then why have you been avoiding me lately? I'm not avoiding you. I'm just learning to live independently. I looked at him calmly. Isn't this what you wanted? He took a deep breath, his chest heaving. Is this really about what happened that night? How many times do I have to tell you it was just a joke? I know it was. Then why are you ... Zhou Moyan. Be honest with yourself. Do you really think I'm a burden? He fell silent. That moment of silence was more hurtful than any words could ever be. It said everything. I smiled bitterly. See? You don't even deny it. No ... He tried to explain but couldn't find the words. It's okay, I interrupted him. If you think I rely on you too much, then I'll learn to be independent. Isn't that what you wanted? But that's not what I meant ... Then what did you mean? He couldn't answer. We both knew exactly what he meant. He was just regretting it now. With that, I turned and walked away. His voice came from behind me. Lin Qinga, is this really necessary? Was it necessary? I didn't know. All I knew was that I never wanted to be anyone's parasite again. I would rather struggle to stand on my own 2 feet than live in humiliation, dependent on someone else. I joined Chanshu's lab. As it turned out, Chanshu was an excellent senior, serious, responsible, and kind to everyone. He patiently taught me how to do experiments, and gently corrected me when I made mistakes. He never said things like, "How can you be so stupid?" or "How can you not even do this simple thing?" The so-called not a good guy was nothing but Joe Moyan's prejudice. Or perhaps it was just his possessiveness talking. In the lab, I learned so much and made new friends. The senior students all took good care of me, teaching me experiments and helping me with my papers. It turned out that without Joe Moyan I could still live a good life, an even better life. Because finally, I could do the things I wanted to do, without worrying about whether he would approve. I started learning to draw. I joined the school's painting club and went to classes every Wednesday night. I wasn't very good at first, my drawings were lopsided and messy, but I loved it. My teacher said I had talent, that I had a great eye for color. It was the first time anyone had ever told me I had talent. I started learning to cook. I experimented in the tiny kitchen in our dorm. I failed a lot, things were either too salty or too bland. But my roommates were always supportive, eating everything I made. Xiao Yu said, "Kenya, your tomato and egg noodles are the best I've ever tasted." I knew she was just being nice, but it made me happy anyway. I started working out. I went running on the playground every night. At first I could barely breathe after a lap, but eventually I could easily run 5 kilometers. Looking at my stronger, fitter body in the mirror gave me a huge sense of accomplishment. It turned out I could be this determined too. This is what independence feels like. Hard but fulfilling. Lonely but free. One night I was running on the playground. The moon was full, the stars were bright, and the spring breeze carried the scent of flowers. I was running slowly, savoring this feeling of freedom. And then I saw Joe Moyan. He was sitting in the stands, his eyes fixed on me. I don't know how long he'd been sitting there. There was a bottle of water beside him. I pretended not to see him and kept running. 1 lap, 2 laps, 3 laps. He just sat there watching, not moving an inch. When I finished running and was about to leave, he called out to me. "Kinga." I stopped but didn't turn around. "You've lost weight." "Yeah." "How have you been?" "Lately?" "Good." "That's good." His voice cracked a little. "I just wanted to tell you that there's nothing between Song Xian and me." That day in the cafeteria, she insisted on sitting next to me. "Oh, don't you have anything you want to say to me?" I turned around and looked at him. In the moonlight, his face was pale and his eyes were red. "Moyan," I said his name, "I wish you happiness." Then I turned and walked away. His voice came from behind me. "Lin Qingya, are you really this heartless?" Heartless? Maybe. But if I wasn't heartless enough, how could I cut off 18 years of feelings? One day, while I was studying in the library, Song Xian suddenly sat down across from me. She was wearing heavy makeup and perfume that smelled overpoweringly sweet. "Senior, let's talk." She smiled sweetly, but there was an unmistakable smugness in her eyes. "Talk about what?" "About Senior Moyan, of course." She rested her chin on her hand, feigning innocence. "Do you know he's been coming to me to complain lately? He says you won't talk to him anymore." I kept reading my book and didn't respond. She didn't mind and continued, "Actually, I should thank you. If you hadn't stepped aside voluntarily, I never would have gotten close to him. He asked me out to the movies yesterday. That new romance film that just came out. In the theater, he held my hand. He was so gentle." I closed my book and looked up at her. "Are you done?" She froze, clearly not expecting me to be so calm. "I need to keep studying." "Please move." "Lin Kinja." She raised her voice suddenly, drawing looks from everyone around us, then lowered it immediately. "What are you pretending to be? I know you must be dying inside. Then you should thank yourself." I stood up. "After all, you're the one who called me a parasite." Her face changed slightly, but then she smiled again. "Senior, are you still mad?" "I really was just joking. I'm not mad. I packed up my things. I should actually thank you. You made me see the truth." "What truth?" "That 18 years of feelings mean less than someone I've known for less than a year. That the so-called taking care of me was just charity. That I really was a parasite." With that, I picked up my books and left. Her voice came from behind me. Lin Qingya, keep pretending. I don't believe you don't care about Zhou Moyan at all. I didn't look back. Did it matter if I cared? Some things once broken, stay broken. No matter how hard you try to piece them back together, the cracks will always be there. Time flew by quickly, and before I knew it, graduation season had arrived. I was busy with internships, writing my thesis and job hunting, and barely had time to think about anything else. Senior Chun Shu wrote me a letter of recommendation and I got several good job offers. All from companies in other cities. An internet company in Shanghai, a tech company in Shenzhen, and a foreign enterprise in Guangzhou. The salaries were all good, and the prospects were excellent. My roommate asked me, "Are you really going to move away?" "Yeah." "What about Zhou Moyan?" My hand, which was packing my things, paused for a moment. "What does he have to do with me?" My roommate opened her mouth to say something, then thought better of it. I knew what she wanted to say. Zhou Moyan had come to see me many times. During this period, he waited for me downstairs in the dorm, outside the classroom, and at the entrance to the lab. But I always avoided him. Not because I was angry, but because there was no point. Some relationships, once broken, are better left that way. Forcing them to continue will only make both people miserable. Graduation day was beautiful. I wore my bachelor's gown and took lots of photos with my roommates. Our young faces shone in the sun, and everyone was smiling brightly. "Kinga, come on, let's take one more." "Okay." Just as the shutter clicked, I saw Zhou Moyan in the crowd. He was wearing a bachelor's gown too, but he wasn't taking photos. He was just standing there watching me from afar. When our eyes met, he started walking toward me. I instinctively tried to run away. But he walked quickly and was in front of me in a few steps. "Kinga, congratulations on graduating." He was holding a bouquet of flowers, white baby's breath, my favorite. "Thank you." I didn't take them. He awkwardly pulled his hand back. "Have you decided on a job yet?" "Yeah, where?" "Guangzhou." His face turned pale instantly. "Why do you have to go so far away?" "There are better opportunities there." "Is it because of me?" His voice trembled. I shook my head. "Not entirely." "Kinga," he took a deep breath, as if summoning all his courage. "I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have called you a parasite. I shouldn't have let Songxian say those things about you, Raud. I've thought about it a lot these past few months and I realize I can't live without you. Without you I have no appetite for food. I can't sleep at night, can you? Can you? Give me another chance?" As he spoke, his eyes filled with tears. Zhou Moyan, the student council president, the most popular guy in school, had always been so proud. I had never seen him look so desperate. But what was the point? "Moyan," I said softly, "some things once said can't be taken back. Like a broken mirror. Even if you glue it back together, the cracks will always be there. I'm happy now. You will be too. Let's just go our separate ways." I walked around him, ready to leave. He shouted behind me, "Lin Qingya!" so loud that everyone on the playground turned to look. I turned around. He was crying openly. "I love you. I really love you. I've loved you since I was 6 years old. 18 years. How could I just stop loving you?" I looked at him, at the man I had loved for 18 years. A sharp ache twisted in my chest. Yes, 18 years of feelings. How could they just disappear? But love isn't enough. It also needs respect and care and equality. And the moment he agreed that I was a parasite, all of that was gone. Just then, Songxian walked over and linked her arm through his, smiling brightly. She must have come over while we were talking, and her face was a little sour. "Senior Moyan, we should go. We're supposed to go out for dinner soon." She glanced at me, her eyes warning. Zhou Moyan shook her off roughly. "Go on without me." "But double quotes I said go." Songxian bit her lip, glared at me hatefully and turned to leave. "Kinya, see? There really is nothing between us." I smiled. "Moyan, it doesn't matter anymore." It really didn't matter anymore. Who he was with had nothing to do with me. After the ceremony I packed up my things and prepared to leave the school. 4 years of college had come to an end. There were regrets and sadness, but more than anything, excitement for the future. Just as I was leaving the school gate, Jo Moyon stopped me again. He looked like he hadn't slept all night. His eyes were bloodshot, and he hadn't shaved. You're leaving? Yeah, where to? Guangzhou, so far away, double quotes he muttered. If I hadn't called you a parasite, would you still be leaving? Maybe. But there were no what-ifs. Lin Qingya, is this really the end of our 18 years together? 18 years. Yes, 18 whole years. From innocent children to adults about to enter the world. Had I really let go of 18 years just like that? No. But some things are more important than time. Like dignity, like self-respect. Jo Moyon, I looked at him. Thank you for being with me for 18 years. But in the end, we all have to walk our own paths. Qingya, goodbye. I dragged my suitcase and walked away without looking back. Behind me he called my name. Again and again, more urgent each time. More desperate each time. But I didn't look back. Because I knew that if I looked back I would soften. And if I softened, I would make the same mistakes all over again. When I arrived in Guangzhou, everything was a new beginning. A new city, a new job, a new life. The weather in the south was very different from the north. It was hot and humid, and it was hard to get used to at first. I had to shower several times a day, and I couldn't sleep at night because of the heat. I didn't like the food either. It was too sweet and too bland, nothing like the bold flavors of the north. And I didn't speak the language. I couldn't understand a word when my colleagues spoke Cantonese. But I told myself that this was the price of growing up. Slowly I started to adapt. I learned how to use the air conditioner, how to drink herbal tea, how to eat rice noodles. I even learned a few simple phrases in Cantonese. Work was busy, and I often worked late into the night. Sometimes I was so tired I wanted to cry, but after crying I would keep going. Because there was no one to rely on anymore. Or rather, I didn't need to rely on anyone anymore. I could solve work problems on my own. I could find an apartment and move by myself. I could go to the hospital by myself when I was sick. It was hard. The sense of accomplishment I felt every time I overcame a difficulty was something I had never experienced before. 6 months later, I had settled into life here. My work was recognized by my boss, and I got a promotion and a raise. I made new friends, and we would go shopping and out to dinner together on weekends. I rented a small apartment. It wasn't big, but it was cozy. I planted a few flowers on the balcony, so I could see them every morning when I woke up. Occasionally I would still think of Jo Moyon. I would think of how he used to bring me breakfast. I would think of how he stayed up late tutoring me. I would think of how he used to call me little fool and smile. But that was all. It was like a distant dream, beautiful but not real. One day my college roommate Xiao Yu sent me a message. Qingya, how are you doing? I'm good. Why? Nothing, it's just Jo Moyon. What about him? He doesn't seem to be doing very well. My heart tightened, but I asked calmly, how so? I heard he didn't look for a job after graduation. He just locks himself up at home all day. Song Xiang goes to see him every day, but he ignores her. He showed up at our last class reunion. He'd lost so much weight and he looked completely lifeless. Whenever someone mentioned you, his eyes would fill with tears. So he wasn't doing well. But what did it matter? Everyone has to take responsibility for their own choices. Oh, I replied. My roommate probably thought my reaction was too cold because she sent another message. He asked me to ask you if you'd be willing to meet him just once. I thought for a moment and replied, no. Some people, some things are just gone once they're gone. Meeting again would only bring unnecessary pain. I put down my phone and looked out the window at the night view. Guangzhou's nights are always lively, with neon lights flashing and cars streaming by. Just like my life now, busy and fulfilling. Lonely sometimes, but free. This was good. 2 years flew by in the blink of an eye. I had grown from a rookie fresh out of college into a key member of my department. I still missed home sometimes, missed the snow in the north, but I had gotten used to life in the south. I had even fallen in love with the morning tea culture here. On weekends my friends and I would go to a tea house, order a pot of tea and a few dim sum dishes, and sit there for the whole morning. Our company had a new project that required collaboration with the northern branch. My boss specifically asked me to lead it, since I was from the north and would find communication easier. I hesitated for a moment, but accepted anyway. Work was work, and I couldn't let personal matters affect it. I couldn't sleep the night before my business trip. 2 years. I was going back. I wondered how things had changed there. I wondered how he was doing. The moment the plane landed, the familiar cold air hit me. Spring in the north was still cold, unlike the south where flowers were already blooming everywhere. I wrapped my coat tighter around me and took a taxi to the hotel. When we passed my old university, I asked the driver to stop for a minute. The plane trees were still as tall as ever, though their leaves hadn't grown back yet. The snack street outside the school gate was still there, and the smell of grilled cold noodles drifted over, making my mouth water. Joe Moyun used to buy them for me all the time. He never ate any himself, saying they were too greasy. I shook my head and told the driver to keep going. Some memories were better left in the past. The project went very smoothly. My colleagues at the northern branch were all easy to get along with and worked efficiently. In just 1 week, everything was taken care of. The night before I was supposed to leave, my colleagues organized a dinner to see me off. I didn't really want to go, but I couldn't refuse their kindness. Unexpectedly, I ran into Senior Chun Shu at the restaurant. He had graduated with his PhD now and was working at a research institute. Kingi. Eh? Is that really you? He looked genuinely surprised. Hello, Senior. We sat down and talked for a long time. About work, about life, about how things had changed over the past 2 years. He was still single, saying he was too busy with work to date. I laughed and said I was too. By the way, he asked suddenly, do you know what happened to Joe Moyun? My heart tightened. What about him? Chun Shu hesitated for a moment. Never mind, it's nothing. Tell me, Senior. He sighed. He started his own business now. A small software company. It's doing pretty well. That's good. But he's lost a lot of weight. And I heard he's never dated anyone else. What about Song Xian? They lost touch a long time ago. She went abroad not long after graduation. So that was what had happened. We talked a little more and exchanged contact information. As we were leaving, Chun Shu said, Kingya, actually Joe Moyun, he ... Senior, I interrupted him, let's not talk about the past. He opened his mouth to say something, then just patted me on the shoulder. On the way back to the hotel, I took a detour to the park we used to go to all the time. It was still cold on spring nights, and there were very few people in the park. I walked along the lake, watching the moonlight shimmer on the water. Joe Moyun used to come here with me all the time. We would sit on the bench by the lake, watching the stars, talking, sharing our secrets. He said he wanted to buy a house by the lake someday so we could see it every day. I said that must be really expensive. He said it didn't matter, he would work hard to earn the money. It would all be worth it for me. Looking back now, we had been so happy back then. But happy things are always so fragile. One single sentence can shatter them completely. Kingya? A familiar voice came from behind me. I turned around and saw Joe Moyun. 2 years had changed him a lot. He was much thinner, and his once soft features were now sharp and angular. He was wearing a black coat, and he looked much more mature. But his eyes were still the same, soft and tender when they looked at me, as if they could melt. Moyun, I greeted him calmly. You're back. His voice trembled. Business. Trip. Oh. We just stood there, neither of us saying a word. The spring breeze blew, carrying the damp scent of the lake. After a long time, he finally spoke. How are you doing now? Pretty good. That's good. He smiled, a bitter smile. I looked at him. And you? Me? He laughed self-deprecatingly. Okay, I guess. I heard you started your own business? Yeah, a small software company. His eyes lit up a little. It's hard work, but it's fulfilling. That's really good. Kinga, he said suddenly. I've been waiting for you. I froze. 2 years. 730 days. I've thought about you every single day. I wondered how you were doing in the South, if you were getting used to it. I wondered if work was going well for you, if anyone was bullying you. I wondered if you'd met someone else. As he spoke, his eyes filled with tears. Moyon. I know I have no right to say this, he interrupted me. I hurt you. I made you go all that way alone. But Kenya, I really do know I was wrong. I've regretted it every single day for the past 2 years. I regret what I said. I regret not cherishing you when I had the chance. Can you give me one more chance? I promise I'll cherish you this time. I'll never let you be hurt again. He looked at me, his eyes full of desperation, like a drowning man clinging to his last lifeline. I was silent for a long time. 2 years is enough time for a person to grow, and enough time for a person to let go. I was no longer the girl who relied on him for everything. I had learned to be independent, to be strong, to live a good life all by myself. And he, it seemed, was still stuck 2 years ago. Moyon, I said softly, some things once missed are missed forever. We've both changed. We can't go back. He shook his head. No, I haven't changed. I still love you. But I have. I looked at him seriously. I'm no longer the girl who needed you to take care of her. I can take care of myself now. I can even take care of other people. I don't need anyone to look down on me and call me a parasite out of charity. Those last words made his face turn pale. Kinga, Moyon, I wish you happiness. I turned to leave. He shouted behind me, Lin Kenya. I stopped but didn't turn around. If I had never called you a parasite, would we still be together? If. The most useless 2 words in the world. There are no ifs, I said. And then I walked away without looking back. Behind me I heard him break down into quiet sobs. I didn't look back. This time, it was really over. The most profound enlightenment of this story is, any healthy intimate relationship is built on equality and respect. And a life dependent on others will eventually lose dignity and self. The heroine had been accompanied by her childhood sweetheart for 18 years, and had long been used to his meticulous care. However, at a class reunion she was called a parasite by the campus belle. What broke her heart even more was that her childhood sweetheart not only failed to defend her but also acquiesced to this hurtful comment. This sentence completely woke her up. She resolutely cut off this unequal relationship, learned to be independent from scratch, made her own decisions, studied hard and built her career, finally becoming a shining self. The childhood sweetheart who lost her regretted deeply but could never turn back. It teaches us never to give up growing up for anyone. Your independence and self-esteem are more precious than any tenderness obtained through dependence.